Today I would like to talk about selective mutism. This is something that my 10-year-old suffers from, and we get a lot of questions from friends and family members asking about it. Selective mutism is a rare anxiety disorder that prevents a person from speaking in certain situations, despite being able to speak comfortably in others. It's also known as situational mutism. Children with SM is the nickname for it. Children with situational mutism may be verbal and comfortable at home with close family, but mostly nonverbal in social settings like school, family get-togethers, shopping, or any other type of big social function or group. They may also be unable to speak to relatives that they don't see very often, friends that they even consider friends but don't see very often, and other things like that. I'm going to be reading a little bit from my notes today. In a little bit, Jackson is going to come on and offer his perspective in whatever way he can communicate that. He doesn't always do well at explaining things, but he's going to do his best to tell us how it feels to actually live with selective mutism. Most doctors nowadays, and definitely people in the autism community, prefer to call it situational mutism. Selective mutism makes it sound like the person has a choice, like they pick and choose or they select when they go mute and when they don't. This is very inaccurate. Situational mutism makes a lot more sense. I do believe it will eventually be changed in the DSM-5 because people who suffer from this are very verbal, very talkative. Jackson talks our ear off all day long at home. But the minute we're out in public or the minute we have company come into our house, even friends and family members, he goes completely mute. And there are times he would like to speak. There are things that he would like to say. He would like to, put his input into the conversations and what the plans we're making or what's going on. But he literally cannot make himself speak in those moments. Some of you guys have seen it on camera when his anxiety is high, even around other things that we have going on. Then even speaking to a camera or something like that can cause a complete shutdown. In these situations, occasionally he can still talk to me or Dad, but most of the time he gestures or he just completely withdraws into himself. So without further ado, let me read some of the information that I printed down and that I jotted off, and then we will get his perspective on this too. So, selective mutism. People with selective mutism may do the following. They may avoid social situations. They do this because they know they're going to be anxious. They know they won't be able to speak. They know that people are going to perceive them in a way. So they just avoid it altogether. It's, causes extreme anxiety. They speak as little as possible or not at all in these situations. Again, like we talked about, even though they have stuff to say, they can't get the words out. They may respond without words. They may use hand gestures, miming, or even a speech device. Those are all valid forms of communication, and sometimes those are the only way they can get their point across. They may mumble, whisper, or speak very softly. This is another one. Maybe there's a close friend or a close family member that they can speak around, so they will quietly say something to that person so they can relay the message. Occasionally Jackson can do this, but most of the time when he's mute, he is completely mute, at least for a few minutes or for a little while. They may freeze up or hide behind a trusted adult. We see this all the time. It's when we walk into a grocery store or we walk into any public place, as soon as Jackson thinks anybody is looking at him or might possibly speak to him, he completely hides behind me. He clings to me. I call him my Velcro baby, or like a koala bear. He clings to me and he hides right back here so that nobody will actually look at him or speak to him. When we go like to family gatherings and things like that, we usually make sure he has his own space away from everybody so that he doesn't even have to be quite as anxious. And also they may act out when they're having this anxiety. This can come in many forms too. They may have a lot of meltdowns or run away. They may run off and hide somewhere. We see that quite often with Jackson. The older he gets, the better he gets about not leaving us. but he does still run in these situations sometimes. Um, so when you see acting out, sometimes he'll blurt something out that sounds extremely rude, but it's honestly the best communication he can do in the moment. Sometimes he'll tap on me really hard or push on me or things like that. And it's just a way of him communicating with me. Mom, I need to get out of here. Or Mom, speak for me or help me or whatever it may be. So he often will either hide or do what others would perceive as acting out, I think. The next thing I would like to go over is I found some statements. I have a few that are from children and a few that are actually from grown adults who suffer with situational mutism, and I like to get their perspective on this. So this is from a 5-year-old. She says, I am smart. I can understand everything around me, but I don't talk at all in settings where I don't feel comfortable. So even a young child can be very aware of what's happening, even if they don't explain it quite this well. Most children that have situational mutism or selective mutism talk okay as toddlers, but as they get old enough, depending on their developmental level, it's not really an age, it's more developmental. When they become aware that other people have an opinion about them, that other people perceive them, or that other people may make fun of them or bully them or laugh at something they say, those are the things that cause selective mutism. They cause that extreme social anxiety. So typically, someone with selective mutism is not that way as a toddler. They develop that over time, and even in the teen years, it can get even worse. Okay, next we have a 7-year-old. She says, I'm a 2nd grade student. My teacher has not heard my voice yet. There are children that go to school or school type settings that do not speak whatsoever. We went through this when Jackson was first in a Mother's Day Out program when he was 3 years old. I think he was either late 3 or 4. He was in a Mother's Day Out program, and he was getting in trouble here and there and having some behavioral issues, what the school called behavioral issues. We had no idea at the time he was autistic. But our perspective as parents is we thought he was bored, because they were learning their ABCs. They were going over a nursery rhyme every week. They were going over shapes and colors, and he knew all of that. So we thought possibly he was just bored. When we had a teacher conference and we talked to the teacher about that, she was flabbergasted. He had gone there for months, and they had never once heard him say a letter or a color or say one of the nursery rhymes with them, any of it. He was completely avoiding circle time. He would leave the circle or leave the classroom, so they had to actually sit him on the teacher's lap so that he would stay there. Those were the first signs we saw of the selective mutism. His teacher had no idea that he knew any of these things because he never spoke. An 8-year-old says, I think people around me are always criticizing me. So here we have, he realizes at this point in his life that he's perceived by people, and he is so nervous of what they might think or say that his body just clams up and won't speak. 6-year-old says, I feel very stressed and shy when I have to talk. A 4-year-old says, I talk, laugh, play, and sing, but only if I'm at home. This is very, very common. A 7-year-old, I suffer when I'm silent, but I cannot talk. That's the gist of it. It is suffering. It is hard. It is not a choice. And it is far beyond just being shy. It is a disability, a very rare anxiety disorder, often co-concurrent with other anxiety disorders. Jackson is diagnosed with, I believe, 3, if not 4 different types of anxiety. So it does go hand in hand with other types of anxiety, but not very many people actually have situational mutism. Not near as many as have generalized anxiety or regular social anxieties or things like that. A 5-year-old says, when my parents go away from me, I freak out. This right here, these children and even adults with selective mutism, they tend to have their one person, sometimes 2, but usually one person that they are 100% Velcro attached to, and if that person is with them, they feel calm. For some children, it's a parent. For some children, it's a grandparent. For some children, it may be, just a friend or a cousin or a sibling. But when that person goes away from them, they just they panic, sheer panic, because they do not know how to be without that comfort. It is just very uncomfortable. So these are the perspectives from a child's point of view. Now let's hear some things that a couple of women I listened to said. One says, because you can talk to certain people or in certain situations, when you can't talk to others, those people get mad or offended. They think you're being rude or mean to them, but that is not the case. It is literally being stuck in an anxiety freeze. A lot of times with anxiety, we hear about the fight, flight, or freeze response. This is a freeze response. Your brain, it's like a disconnect from your brain to your mouth. Your brain is still working and it has a million opinions it would like to say, but your mouth will absolutely not speak. Yes, people think you're rude. It took me a long time to understand that when Jackson is upset or when he is in distress, that he can't even speak to me. And it took me a long time to stop telling him, I can't help you if you don't talk to me, or I can't help you if you don't explain to me. It took me a long time to realize that when he can talk to me or explain to me, he will. This is not a choice. And I was furthering that anxiety by trying to push him to speak. This lady also says, it's not chosen or personal. It's a freeze response, and I physically and literally cannot speak to you. It is not a choice. Another lady says you can be bullied or teased, knowing you can't talk back or defend yourself, which actually enhances the anxiety even more. People may tease, they may laugh, they may joke around at your expense, even if it's a snide remark or an offhanded comment. They may tease you because you can't speak, which actually is just making the anxiety worse. She says people don't get to know the real you. They see this stiff, awkward, frozen shell. As a mom, seeing a son go through this, it breaks my heart. But we see this all the time, even with very close family members. They do not know the Jackson that we know. He is so funny. He is so kind. He is so caring. He is an absolute beautiful soul. Just a carefree kid. He is always laughing and dancing and dabbing and just constantly wanting to make us laugh and smile. He's so joyful and just boisterous. And the minute other people are around, he's like a turtle that retreats into his shell. And he glares at people and he makes, what we perceive as ugly faces, or he just retreats into himself and he hides, or he won't speak, or when he does speak, it comes off as sounding very rude and very blunt and maybe not even on topic. But I just, he's just frozen, and they just don't see that part of him that we see, and it breaks my heart. And I'm hoping by doing YouTubes together that others can see the fun child that we see. At this point, he's not as comfortable with the camera as he would need to be relaxed and be funny. He is occasionally, but most of the time he is still anxious when I pull it out, which is why I don't ever ask him to be on camera, or I don't ever push him to be on camera. He talks, or he comes on when he wants to, and he doesn't when he doesn't. This is my channel, and he just happens to be with me all the time. So he can join or not join. That is completely his choice. And lastly, she says, when a group is talking and you have something to contribute to the conversation, you just feel awful that you can't say it. That would be so hard. Imagine if you couldn't tell anybody what was on your mind or what you were thinking about. Not only if you were in distress and needed help. What if you were in public and you needed something? What if you needed help? What if you were going into anaphylactic shock? Or what if you... who knows? What if you were in danger? How hard would it be if you could not tell a single person around you what was happening? That would be so hard. So I appreciate that I was able to get some input from a couple of grown-ups. That was very helpful. The next thing that I want to go over are things that you can do to support someone with selective mutism. How can you help them in these situations? How can you help them be more comfortable? How can you help them still participate? Some of these are my perspective as a mother. Some of these are perspectives or suggestions that I found online. And let me tell you, I found a lot of suggestions online that some professional had written maybe to parents or caregivers. It was the worst advice I've ever seen. Absolutely horrible. So please ignore any advice that says things like, wait them out, they'll eventually talk. No, you're making the anxiety worse, and they're not eventually going to talk. They're going to leave or run off or completely shut down even further. Things just, I don't know, just more like behavioral tactics that are not appropriate whatsoever. So let's talk about things that you can do that are very supportive to people in these situations. My first advice is to welcome and respond to any kind of communication from the person, including gestures, nodding, drawing, making choices, or helping in different ways. Even texting. A lot of times Jackson will text me. He'll go get his tablet and he'll text me when he can't talk to me. Any form of communication. Gestures, the taps, the pointing. As you saw in another video, Jackson was telling me yes or no in sign language. Anything is communication. Communication is not only mouth words. Some other ways. Stop pressuring me to speak. You just make it harder. Don't pressure to speak. Like I just said, communication is not only mouth words. Communication comes from many, many forms. Do not praise me when I do dare to say something. What do you think happens if you have a person that has selective mutism and then they do try to say something and you automatically focus on that? You say, oh, you spoke, or oh, good job trying to say something, or anything like that. What do you think happens? You add more anxiety. You're triggering another anxiety, like huge surge of anxiousness in the body. Don't bring any attention. Whatever form of communication they use is fine in the moment. Roll with it. Ignore my silence. Does that mean ignore the person? Absolutely not. It means ignore the fact that I can't talk. Keep including me. Keep going on. Look at my facial expressions. Look at what I'm pointing at. Look at anything you can to try to see how I'm feeling. But keep moving on. Keep me included, but just ignore the fact that I'm not speaking. Choose a game that does not require the use of speech and play it with me. This would be for a child, but even as an adult, choose an activity you can do with your friend that doesn't require speaking. Do art together. Go on a walk at the park together. Go swimming together. There are so many things you can do to be inclusive and to still really have this bond and this friendship that requires no speech whatsoever. Help me to love myself. Help me to know that you fully appreciate and love me, whoever your person with selective mutism is. They are whole. God made each and every one of us absolutely perfect, exactly the way we are. He created us in his perfect image. Help me to love myself. Help your person to love themselves. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not inadequate. They are a full and perfect human being just the way they are. Support my way of communicating with other people. Support, 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 accept and support. Wouldn't the world be a better place if we did this for everybody? Help me maintain contact with my peers. Me as a mother with a 10-year-old son who may go out in public into a group that he wants to join and not say a word. I still want him to participate. I still want him to foster those friendships that are important to him. We are joining, another craft show. Let's hope it doesn't get rained out. We're joining another craft show. Tonight will be the first night at an adaptive gymnastics class where each child in the gymnastics class gets to have a parent or a caregiver with them. You stay with him the entire time. He has no reason that he has to speak to anybody, and I keep trying to tell him that because he's so anxious. Don't worry about having to speak. I'm going to be there. I'm your safe person. I'm going to be there with you. But it gives him a chance to be with peers. It gives him a chance to join in an activity that he is interested in his own way. And I have stand by me, not in front of me, not behind me. Don't kind of leave these people hanging. Stand next to them. Hold their hand. Put your arm around them. However you can make them feel comfortable. Go in it together as a team. And then lastly, a way I think is greatly helpful, at least for us with Jackson, but I assume with anyone with situational mutism, are to have visuals. Have something that the child can look at and point to, or show you in a way. Plan ahead. We plan so much for every activity, especially the new ones, every activity. Plan ahead. You can look online at menus and you can get their order from home. You can look online at pictures. You can see pictures of absolutely anything these days. Find a picture of where you're going. How does it look? How might it smell? Who might be there? What is the plan? What are we going to do when we get there? Those things can definitely help. When trying to communicate with someone with selective mutism, ask things in a yes or no manner. You can find a lot of information if you just ask the right questions. It's very easy to do a head nod or a sign language, or, to get your point across if it's a yes or if it's a no. And lastly is speech devices. I think a lot of people get confused when a completely verbal person also uses an AAC device or some sort of speech device. But there are so many people who, for some reason, for one way or another, still need a speech device, and this is one of those. Jackson is currently on the wait list to join a speech therapy group or class that will help him get an AAC device, which will be a tablet that he can speak with in public. I can already foresee we may have friends and family members that scoff at it. We may have people that don't understand why we would get that. But my child has a voice and he has an opinion and he wants to be part of this world. And he is asking. We never sought one out before, because before this year, at 10 years old, before this year, he had no desire to speak to other people. As long as he could speak to his family, that's all he cared about. He had zero desire to speak to anybody else. But now at 10 years old, when we're at a doctor's office, he has input. When we go to a park and there are some kids that he thinks he might want to try to play with, he would like to be able to speak to them. He would like to be able to go up and say, "Hi, my name is Jackson. Do you want to play?" He does not have that ability. Just different situations like this now. In a restaurant, he would like to order for himself. He knows what he wants. He doesn't want his mom ordering for him. He's a big boy now. So we are actively seeking an AAC device, and we will make it happen because he is now ready to get his voice out there, and whatever form that comes in is fine. So offer speech devices, whatever that looks like. When we go to the craft shows, we've only done one. The one we did was put on by us in our totally awesome club that we created. And all of the children that joined the last craft show, the business fair that we did, they were all autistic or had some other disability. So Jackson knew all of the kids there. He knew they were all his friends. He knew the parents and such. But even then, he was going to have to speak to the public. So I went and I bought these because we don't have an AAC device yet. I bought him these little buttons. I'm sure you've seen these for a lot of things online. People use them in kindergarten classrooms, pre-K classrooms, therapy sessions. People even train their dog or their cat to push these. But I bought these because you can record a voice on these in your own voice. And you can, with the push of a button, play it absolutely anytime you want to. So he had one at his booth.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, this was the second one. This one, he would say, and I would still have to prompt him because he's so anxious around strangers. But I would say hello to the person, and I would ask Jackson if he wants to say hello. And all he would have to do is push his button.
Hi, welcome to the Totally Awesome booth.
Is that not cool? That is his voice. That is him greeting somebody with the use of a speech device. After they did their shopping, we had visuals, we had prices already listed on everything. Nobody had to ask how much something was. Nobody had to ask any information on that. And Jackson was able to take their money and make their change. And then when they were finished shopping, whether they bought something or not, he had a way to thank them.
Thank you for coming.
So offer a speech device. Offer whatever support these, I keep wanting to say children because mine is a child, but there are adults that still have this. I don't foresee Jackson as suddenly becoming an adult at 18, 19, 20 and all of a sudden being able to speak in public. It's just not going to happen. Now, Can he work up to possibly even being able to make a phone call to make himself a doctor's appointment? Or can he work up to maybe possibly ordering in a restaurant? Maybe. I don't know. We are always working to move forward, but I am not here to fix anything about my child. My child is not broken. So there are adults that still have this. I absolutely foresee Jackson still struggling as an adult. And so we need to offer whatever form of communication we can offer. So I think that's all I have to say on selective mutism. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments, and I or Jackson, either one, will try to give the best answer we can. If you have any information or any tips to share for me as a mother, or for Jackson as a person living with selective mutism, please, we're always up for learning more and for any kind of growth and knowledge that we can have. So that'll be it for my portion of this. In a little bit, Jackson's going to come in and try to give his perspective on things, and we'll see, what he has to say about that. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this informative, and I hope you learned something, whether or not you know someone with selective mutism, or whether you're just interested in knowing in case you ever come across someone that is like my child. If you see someone clinging to a partner or clinging to a parent, you see someone that's not comfortable speaking with you, don't judge. Don't pass any judgment whatsoever. Accept the fact that maybe this child is struggling. Give them a smile and tell them to have a nice day, or keep including them in that conversation, but don't judge. Thank you. You don't even have to look over there if you don't want. You can just be looking at Mom, okay? Okay, I've already explained my perspective and things I've read online and being your mom of how it is when you go mute in public or mute in situations when you're upset or in distress. But can you tell me how it feels in your own body when that happens?
I don't really know.
How does your body feel when you're able to talk to Mom and have a good time, and then as soon as somebody else is around, you can't speak? How does it feel like?
I don't know, Mom.
You don't know how to explain it?
I don't even know what to... It doesn't feel like anything.
It doesn't feel like anything? It just feels like maybe like a block, like you just can't speak? Does it make your heart beat fast?
No.
Does it frustrate you when you obviously have things you want to say and you can't say them? Yeah, it's frustrating. There are a lot of times that you wish you could speak, aren't there? What would it feel like if you tried to make yourself speak?
Impossible.
Impossible. Okay, did you have a message that you wanted to play on your button?
Being mute makes life very hard. Being mute makes life very hard. Being mute makes life very hard. Being mute makes life very hard.
As your mom,
makes life very hard.
It does. I know, baby. As your mom, is there anything I can do to help you that I don't already do? Is there something I should know or do?
Being mute makes life very hard. Being mute makes life very hard.
Are you excited to get
hard.
an AAC device so that you can say all the things that you want to say?
You shouldn't say that on camera, Mom.
I told them that you're getting one. Aren't you excited to get one? I told them that you're asking for one.
Makes life very hard.
When you get your AAC device, what kind of situations do you think it'll be most helpful for?
The business fairs and stuff.
Uh-huh. Talking to your doctors when they ask questions and you have to look at Mom to answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about when we see kids at the park that you kind of want to play with and you can't make yourself talk? Do you think it'll be good then? No? I thought you wanted to be able to say, hi, my name is Jackson. Do you want to play? Or maybe say, do you like Pokemon, or do you like to play games? No? You're not comfortable enough to speak to other kids yet?
No.
What other situations? What about as you get older? And like right now, when you take your bank deposit slip, Mom says you want to make a deposit. Won't it be nice for you to say, I'd like to make a deposit, please?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even with a speech device, you're still going to be a little nervous, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it will help you, and it will allow you to have a voice if you want to have a voice, won't it?
Mm-hmm.
and maybe eventually help build some confidence that you won't be as anxious because you'll know that you can speak. Does that sound right? All right, is there anything else you want to say? No? I'm happy that you like to teach people different things because they might have a friend or family member that has selective mutism and they might not understand it. It took Mom a long time to understand it, didn't it? It took me a long time to realize that you weren't just being shy or you weren't just being stubborn, right? That you really can't talk even if you want to. All right, anything that your whale wants to say? All right, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video.
See you in the next video.
See you in the next video.
Is it easier for you to speak to a button than speak to a camera?
Yes.
It is. It takes some of the pressure and the anxiety off.
Yeah. See you in the next video.
See you in the next video.
There's my boy. So when you talk to the camera, what makes you nervous? Is it because you know people are going to be watching?
Mm-hmm.
But when you speak to the button, what? It takes the pressure off?
Yeah, I got it.
That's nice to know. All right. Thanks for watching.